For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to the Gist on Strat News Global. Hi, I'm Surya Gangadharan, and this evening our focus is on the Agnipath or Agniveers scheme for recruitment of soldiers into the Indian Army. Now, ordinarily, this would have remained confined to the Indian Army, but given the fact that India and Nepal have a relationship where Gorkha soldiers from that country serve in the Indian Armed Forces, this is where Gorkhas recruited from Nepal serve in the Indian Armed Forces, just to be factually there. This has created a bit of controversy in Nepal because there is a concern that it may impact on the salaries and pensions that Nepali soldiers generally receive upon completing their 16 years of service in the Indian Army. So, under the Agniveers scheme, that service is reduced to about 4 years. Maybe about 25% of those recruited actually serve for a longer period. So there's this controversy here, and could that encourage other countries to fish in troubled waters? So that's the big question today. I have with me General Shokin Chauhan, former Gorkha officer. He was also defense attache in Kathmandu at some point. General Shokin, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Surya. Thank you.
So, what is the narrative you are hearing from Nepal? I mean, I'm sure you have contacts on that side. What is the general sense you get there?
So I've been actually speaking at an informal level with some of the ex-chiefs and generals of the Nepal army with regard to the Agnipath scheme and requesting them that they should prevail on the government to accept our Agnipath scheme and allow the recruitment of Gorkha soldiers. The main issue that I was informed by them was the fact that they felt that they had not been consulted, and they didn't feel that that India should be changing her recruitment rules as far as the Nepalese soldiers are concerned, or Nepalese origin soldiers in the Gorkha regiments of the Indian Army are concerned without having consulted them. So I think that's the first issue. The second issue is more economic. And that is more to do with the fact that today 129,000 soldiers, government pensioners draw pension from the government of India in Nepal, and that amounts to roughly about 3,500-4,000 crores a year. And they feel that by accepting our soldiers, their nationals, from being recruited under the Agnipath scheme, they will be losing good manpower and not getting any pensions in return. So I think these are the two issues. One is the feeling of being left out, and the second is economic.
General Shokin, do you believe there's a lack of appreciation, perhaps within the MOD, the Indian establishment, about the outreach that must be done with neighbors when dealing with issues like this?
Definitely, Surya. This seems such a simple issue.
Yeah.
Uh, mm, After all, we've been very close to Nepal, to the government of Nepal. We have Sher Bahadur Tioba now, who's the Prime Minister of Nepal, and who is fairly close to the Indian political establishment. Uh, if if he had been consulted in time, I'm certain that this problem wouldn't have occurred, and that it would have gone without creating a controversy. On the other side, I wish our embassy in Kathmandu had liaised with the government of Nepal and the Nepalese, not so much the Nepalese army, but the government of Nepal, and informed them well in time about the Agnipath scheme. After all, the Agnipath scheme had been raging in the media for about 2 months before it was actually implemented. So there was enough time to inform them about this and take their concurrence that this is what we were planning to do. So these are the two issues which I feel that maybe we could have done.
Mhm. Do you think this could kind of muddy the waters a bit in the event some other country decides to, maybe offer Gorkhas an alternative employment? You know what I'm referring to.
I am. There is their neighbor in the north, China, who always fishes in troubled waters, at least as far as India is concerned. Similarly, I have on authority that, about 40, 45 years back, the Pakistanis also wanted to recruit soldiers from Nepal, but Nepal had refused. So, and Pakistan is yet another country that does fish in troubled waters. So, again, as far as India is concerned, so I would say definitely these countries are looking for an issue to create a problem between us and Nepal, and they found a subject like this wherein maybe they can offer recruitment to these Gurkha soldiers again to create huge security problems in India in subsequent times.
Mhm. If that happens, then the India-Nepal relationship is effectively over. It's hugely damaging.
It's too early to say that, Surya. After all, we have a very deep relationship that goes beyond the employment of the Agnipath soldiers. It's a very deep cultural relationship. It's a very deep emotional relationship. We call it roti beti ka rishta. A lot of our people are married there. A lot of our people get wives from there, and well, we've never really considered Nepal a foreign country. So it'll take time if it is indeed to start deteriorating. But over the last couple of last decade or so, we've we've been seeing that there is a larger noise in the political setup of Nepal, especially in Kathmandu and parts of western and eastern Nepal, with regard to India and what they perceive of India as having as a country that seems to be interfering, or they feel interfering in their internal affairs. So there is a fair amount of anger expressed in the streets in Kathmandu and in various parts of Nepal, and that it would be a pity indeed if that anger boiled over and the people who want to bait India actually succeed in getting power in Nepal. After all, we've just got, we've Mr. Oli, who was no friend of India, has recently been sacked as the Prime Minister. Uh, and Sher Bahadur Dioba, who is a friend of India, is the Prime Minister. So we don't want him to lose his credibility in Nepal. And we definitely don't want him to lose his majority in Nepal. So we need to be careful and sensitive to the issues today.
Would you say, given that the new scheme does not discriminate against Gorkha soldiers from Nepal, in fact, under the Tripartite Treaty, there is only the promise of equal treatment that we promised, that we held out, which has largely been, I think, adhered to. We have not meddled with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
But even in the Agniveer case, it's equal treatment. If the Indian soldier serves
There is,
4 years,
there is
so does
no
the
doubt.
Nepali.
But under the tripartite agreement, there is also one more sentence there, which talks of after prior agreement. Uh, I feel we come back to the same point again that we could have interacted with the Nepalese government before about the Agnipath scheme and the reasons why the government of India is going in for the scheme, and that we could have requested them to, continue as hitherto as far as this was concerned.
Mhm. Is there a way out of this, given the propensity of Nepali politicians to use anything as leverage against India? Could we have perhaps done this a bit differently? Maybe tweak the pension rules a bit.
I I wouldn't say. Well, if you're talking of the Agnipath scheme itself, maybe you know. a lot of our ex-servicemen, have done a analysis on the amount of savings that India might accrue under the Agnipath scheme, and an equal analysis that in case the terms and conditions of the soldiers, instead of decreasing the number of years that they served in color service, they increase the years to say 20 years or 25 years. After all, the CAPF serve for 25, 30 years. I felt maybe that might have been a better idea at the present moment, because we get further into the 21st century, the health parameters have greatly improved. The idea of looking at just the youth seems an overrated concept. People are fitter much beyond their 20, 25, much beyond 30s. And in fact, the 40s are actually the new 30s. So I feel that maybe the soldiers could have been allowed to serve longer, and that would have actually obviated the economic problem of giving pension to the soldiers retiring at 15 or 17 years of service. I am certain that the late General Bipin Rawat was actively contemplating this idea too, of increasing the number of years of service, so as to reduce the burden of the pension on our soldiers. So I feel it could have worked both ways: increase it by 5 years or decrease it by 5 years. But increasing by 5 years would have meant that soldiers get a longer term of service, and the economic aspects could have been looked into. Like I said,
This whole, yeah.
today is not the only way by which you judge the ability of a soldier. Our soldiers remain fitter right beyond the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
I was the Director General of the Assam Rifles, wherein we continued that with them till the age of 50. And the older NCOs and JCOs or warrant officers were probably as fit as the younger soldiers at the age of 25. And you add to that their experience, their expertise, and the kind of jobs that they were doing and the jobs that they'd been trained in, I feel that would have been a greater advantage than this.
So this whole thing on youth, which every top general talks about, youth profile, young age, keeping the people, officers, and the soldiers young. This is a bit overdone.
I agree, Surya. If you just have to take your mind back to an old saying, I forget who it was, who said, in wars, only the young die faster because there is a lack of experience. The more experienced soldiers have an ability to carry out the same task more effectively uh, with greater expertise than a young soldier merely charging on an enemy.
Yeah.
So I am of the opinion that we should have changed our retirement rules. We should have allowed our soldiers to serve up till 40, 45 years. And that might have helped as far as economically, as well as retained within the army the expertise that a soldier has gained over the last 15 odd years.
So
After
is
all,
this?
senior commissioned officers, senior NCOs retire at 25. There's no reason why
Yeah.
everyone could be taken. Yeah.
So, is there an issue with the top brass not wanting older guys around, or they know the reality, but perhaps are not able to articulate this to the political
So yeah,
leadership?
it's difficult for a veteran like me to talk about our top brass because I was top brass once, so I won't comment on that. But there is this issue was under active consideration when General Bipin Rawat was the CDS. So that's all I can say at the moment.
In fact, if you were headed the Assam Rifles for some years, and what was your experience?
So my experience, because my soldiers would serve right up till 50, and in government service, like the rest of CAPFs, Our older JCOs would serve out right up to 60. I truthfully felt that the most effective soldiers were the ones who would cross 35. They had with them the 15 odd years of experience. They had the ability of their body to carry out the same task that it carried out at 20 that they were carrying out at 35. In fact, 35 to 40, 45 were the golden years of these senior soldiers, senior NCOs.
Yeah.
And indeed, I found them to be the most effective junior leaders.
So why does this not go up the chain to the top guy there? Is it? I mean, what is it? Is it the army culture? What is it?
I think sometimes perceptions differ, and maybe the perceptions has differed as far as this is concerned. But I was, I know that General Rawat was actively considering the extension of service to obviate the burden of pension.
So last question, what do we do now, given that no recruitment of Gorkha soldiers in Nepal is happening now? Probably it will happen in due course after elections are over in November over there, and things may get to some kind of normalcy. But there is a certain anger, perhaps even a deep sense of disappointment over there, and this could play out in very adverse ways.
That's unfortunate, Surya. That's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the recruitment into the Indian Army has become a political point scoring system or scheme in Nepal.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but Surya, regardless of whichever government comes in power, it'll be a coalition because there is no real clear majority one way or the other. And in that coalition, there will have to be a give and take in the system. So we should not expect much changes post elections.
Yeah.
I feel the government of India can engage the Nepali leadership at the highest levels, explain to them the reasons why we've gone in for the Agnipath scheme, and also say that, well, maybe like we've been able to explain to the youth who were rioting a couple of months earlier that there would be 10% of seats reserved in the CAPS for recruitment for these Agniveers. Similarly, some other jobs for these Agniveers so that they're able to complete their pensionable service and return home with a pension in hand. So, maybe we can do that. We can, a lot depends upon how the government of India is able to engage the government of Nepal in this particular issue and request Nepal to look at this issue in greater detail so that, with greater sensitivity so that they can accept this and not allow this issue to be made into a political football. Because in that political football, there is only one loser. That is the Indian Army, because we will lose out on the quality of the Gorkha recruits who come in from Nepal. We will lose out on a very vital link we have with Nepal. Nepal, as you know, if you look at the strategic geography of Nepal, the Nepal sits on the Indo-Gangetic plain. Our borders are open; people can cross without any hindrance. And if we were to have enemies living in Nepal in close proximity to these very, very important borders, these enemies could well create and become fifth columnists within our country. I can't see this kind of thing happening in India. It would be disastrous for us.
So just to sum up, India needs to improve its outreach, especially when dealing with issues such as this. Agniveer is a case in point. Also, while there is no, India has never dealt with the Nepali Gorkhas on an equal basis compared to its own men. We need to be, perhaps the military top brass needs to be far more, must articulate its position perhaps far more strongly with the political leadership and get a better deal perhaps than what Agniveer than the controversies surrounding Agniveer. We could have perhaps avoided that. General Shokin Chauhan, thank you very much. A pleasure talking
Thank
to
you.
you as always.
Thank you, sir. All the best to you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. And for those of you who joined us on this conversation, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you and good night.